Hello, everyone. Hello. Happy Tuesday. Literally wanted to say happy Friday. No, we're in Tuesday. Come on. Hi, everyone. Welcome. I am so glad to get to share this Tuesday night with you. For those of you that are watching on the replay, hello. Welcome to the Alexis podcast. We do this podcast every Tuesday night at 6:30 p.m. And this is really just a time for you and I to get a chance to connect and really just check in with where you are. Sometimes we're talking about chasing your dreams. Sometimes we're talking about stop chasing your demons. And in this season, in this series, we're really a series designed around you're not alone, because the holidays mean something a little bit different to everybody. And one of the big things to know during this time is that, again, you're not alone. You're not alone with how you're feeling. You're not alone with what you're going through. You're not alone with where you might be in a certain season of your life. And it can be so easy to feel like you are, because we're kind of in this social media culture where it's like highlight reel, or sometimes you'll get the ones where people are just like absolutely losing their mind. Or it's just like the funny kid and animal videos. And so it can be very easy to see yourself as in, man, I'm going through this by myself. For those of you that didn't get a chance to tune in last week, we touched on anxiety. And one of the things, what we're going to be talking about tonight is allowing yourself to know that it's okay to start over. It's okay to start over. And not starting over as the person that you know yourself as. Allowing yourself to start over as a new creation, as a new being, as a new person, without holding on to these who you used to be. Last week, we read this quote where it talked about when a star is born, there is an explosion. Like there is ultimate and utter chaos and utmost destruction. And it's not the end. It's the beginning. It's a birth. It's a rebirth. And so what we're going to be talking through tonight is knowing that that part of it is okay. I think sometimes we, mostly as in me, we can get so caught up into who we used to be or how we feel like we need to be based on a previous version of ourselves that we keep ourselves from moving forward. And so in the You're Not Alone series, tonight, it's okay to talk about, it's okay to start over. It's okay to be someone that you've always wanted to be. It's okay to not start a fresh page. It's okay to just go on ahead and get yourself a new book. You can start over. And what do you want that to look like? And I feel like the beginning of that, there's so much of it where we need to just unlearn who we feel like we used to be. And that there are parts of us that they're beautiful. Like for me, like a core part of me is like, oh, I love the Goo Goo Dolls. Or really weirdly, that when I go out to eat, I go out to places that I already know and I get the same thing on their menus every time. I will not deter. I won't do it because I go to that place to eat that thing. And so there are those little quirks and there's those little things about you where we can kind of base our identity. And it's all right to love those little quirks about you. I love that. Like, I love that my favorite song has pretty much been the same since third grade. It's Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls. And their Live at Buffalo version in 2004 is on YouTube. It is the best version of that song that ever is. They're in a pouring rainstorm in their hometown. And it's all right to love the things, especially the things that you feel like were a part of you before you like became this you. Like whether it's music or whether it's orcas. For me, I felt like those things were put in me when I was being made. Like I just was made to love them. I'm not talking about changing any of those things. I'm not talking about anything like that. But I want to tell you now that it's okay to unlearn you. And I feel like this is some ways kind of an affirmation. Because for me, it was like, oh, I had a baby and I'm like, okay, so now I have this baby and I'm going to go back to who I used to be. And I've been really stirring on this for the last couple of weeks that that's really not how it works. And I would be doing myself, my family, my baby, this world, mostly myself, the biggest disservice if I had a life-changing event and I just went back to the old version of me. And so I'm not going to be going crazy and cutting my hair and dyeing it purple or anything like that. But I know that sometimes we can get caught in this groove and it becomes a rut, especially with our identity and how we see ourselves. And again, not the really great things. Sometimes it's the not so great things that we really stick to us and we really hold on, because sometimes there are events that happen and we lug those around, and the story that we tell ourselves about ourselves starts to be woven into who we feel like we are. It becomes kind of like a permanent part of who we are instead of just something that happened to us. And there are times where no matter what it is, it will happen in life and in death. Those things change you forever. But I'm talking about moments where you felt like they should have gone a different way. I'm talking about moments where maybe you feel shame or regret and you just kind of lug those around, playing it on repeat and trying to figure out who you are supposed to be by looking back into who you used to be without giving yourself a fresh start. And so for me, I want to share with you that the first time this happened to me, I was in the peak of my network marketing career. This was about 10 years ago, and I had an event happen. I had this seemingly kind of nothing event happen to me that ended up being completely catastrophic for not just my career, but literally my entire sense of self. And it really stripped everything that I knew about myself and how I knew it to be true. But what I found myself doing is amongst the ashes or amongst the rubble or just amongst all the shit that was not going my way anymore, I kept trying to go back to who I used to be, like who I used to be before that event happened. Like I was just going into this metaphorically, like this abandoned home, this shell of my former self. And I kept trying to flip the light back on, like just trying to flip the switch back onto who I used to be, thinking that if I just got in the right room at the right time and I did the right thing, almost like I witchy woo woo, to try to get myself to be who I used to be. And I feel like there were so many months, if not years, that I just sat in that home of who I used to be, trying to make it fit who I was. And it took me a long time to realize that I could get up and build a new home. I could get up and do something different again. But I stayed there for so long. And that isn't what I want to happen to you. I want you to know that it's okay to go back into the rubble of who you used to be and just observe it. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to justify it. You don't have to say this is how you're going to be now. We're going to stay in this version of us until the end. No, you don't have to do that. And there are events that are going to come where it really just tries to shatter. It kind of shatters who you are. And your safest move is to get back to what feels normal, which is why we try to go back to who we used to be. But sometimes when things fall apart, they're just falling into place. And we spend so much time fighting, trying to get things back to where they used to be, into that normal, that we miss the moment. We miss the moment of getting to be where we're supposed to go, where we're called to go, where we're supposed to be on our own vision, on our own path. And we can't do that if we're looking behind us. If we're just staring behind us the whole time, waiting and waiting, you're going to miss it. And so you're not alone. If something happened to you and it rocked your ever-loving world and you felt like you got kicked in the face, and when you hit rock bottom, you stood up and it fell out again and again and again until you were like, this has got to be hell. I'm at all the bottoms that have ever been a bottom. You're not alone. But what's hard is when you're in that moment and you keep falling through, you're trying to claw your way out. You're trying to climb yourself up like Shadow and Homeward Bound at the very end. And that's not what these events are designed to do. You're supposed to get so far down for you to realize we're not using your little paws. You have wings and you're going to fly out of it. but you have to be doing it in the version of yourself of moving forward, of letting go, of giving yourself a chance to again be a new creation of yourself. Because when we're clawing and fighting and trying to get it back, we're just going to end up staying there longer. And so giving yourself a chance to start over, guilt-free. Because now that we are 10 to 12 years later, I swear I probably spent 2 years. Nah, that's a lie. 2 years was generous. Probably like 5. Just trying to go back to who I used to be. And who I used to be needed everyone's approval. And that's why I worked so hard and I would suffer so much so that people could acknowledge how hard I was working, how hard I was suffering, how much I was just giving. And my entire existence and sense of self was in the opinions of people higher up ranking, acknowledging that struggle and that sacrifice. I was prioritizing me feeling like I was someone over actually being someone to my people, to myself. Like somehow me being funny and witty and charismatic and with great speaking and loyal and loving, that was all very like me compared to who I could be. And I was just chasing this version of myself. So I'm not going to wait 5 years to tell myself it's okay to start over. And whether you've waited a day, 5 years, 20 years, whatever it is, you can start over right now. You can start over with me right now because my little baby, he just turned 7 months old. He is the cutest thing on the ever-loving earth. He is just this chunky little ham with this little gum-filled smile. He's the best. But I have spent the last 7 months trying to get myself back to who I was before I was a mom. I was trying to get it together. Like, why wouldn't I just try to work until 9 p.m. every night on something else? Why wasn't I getting up extra early? And I finally just had to sit down and take a breath and say, hey, that girl you were, she is so fun. She is great. She is wonderful. But she's not here right now. And if she knew what you was going to be doing right now, she fled. You know, this mom life. Holy cow. Holy cow. And I wasn't giving myself a chance to see who I could be because I just kept looking back at who I felt like I should be. And so in this season, you're not alone. And it's okay to start over. It's okay to start over at any moment. If you start over tomorrow and you hate it, you know what? You can start over again tomorrow night. You can start over whenever it is that you need to. And one of the things that I needed to stop telling myself was to just get it together. Because this is the season where it's going to fall apart. And it's supposed to. It's the season. Maybe this is your season where you're into the cocoon and everyone's like, look, a cocoon and then a butterfly. If you watch a video of what happens to a caterpillar, it literally turns to utter mush. It like disintegrates and then rebuilds itself into something. And we think it's so beautiful when we watch it happen. But when it happens to us, we are in a goddamn panic. And no judgment. I have spent many months in this goddamn panic trying to just get back. But it's all about letting things fall apart so that they can fall together and stop fighting it. Because the longer you fight, I swear to you, the more miserable you will be. And I just want you to give space and allow for that destruction to take place. And it is scary. It is hard. It is confusing. But you're not alone. We're in this together. And the more you just let things fall off of you, especially the things you know that don't serve you or the things that you're having to force it to work. Or one of the things I had said to my oldest son is I said, if you don't know, the answer is no on whether you should do something. If you don't know, the answer is no. And really honoring that and giving yourself space to let things go, even if you've always wanted them to be. Giving yourself that space so that God, the universe, yourself, your higher self, whatever it is you believe in, can step in on your behalf and work some ever-loving magic for you. My sister was telling me about this thing. It's like the opposite of paranoia. It's pronorma. I totally probably said that wrong, but it essentially is living your life as if you know, like the universe has a crush on you and it just wants to do all of these things in your favor. And it's like laying out all of these beautiful things to line up so that you can end in your highest, greatest good. And it's like that little photo. It's like where it's like the little girl's holding on to the bear, like this little teddy bear. And then Jesus is like holding a huge bear behind him. But he's like, you have to give me this. And she's like, the hell I am not. She probably didn't say that because she looks 5. But 35-year-old people are like, no, this is mine. This is mine. And we can get caught in this familiar hell because the unfamiliar heaven is just too scary. And so whether this is 5-year-old you and we're saying, let's put your bear down, or that version of you, or that person you feel like you've always wanted to be, even if it's not someone you know why you wanted to be it, giving yourself that space, giving yourself that time. Because again, we can be so hard on ourselves, and you just feel terrible every day because you're not who you were supposed to be. Well, who the fuck is that anyway? You forget you get to choose. This is your life. You get to choose who you're supposed to be. Not the internet, not your parents, not your spouse, not your kids. You get to choose. You get to design it and give yourself the grace and the time to design a life without saying, well, I got to do this for someone else. Oh, I got to do this for someone else. What do you want it to look like? What do you want it to, more importantly, feel like? And make your next move from there. And understanding sometimes taking a step back is a freaking slingshot. And what feels like forever is just incredibly temporary. If motherhood has taught me, it's taught me 5,000 things. But it showed me that I don't really like change. And as much as I like to go with the flow, I really only go with the flow of the river that I have made. My husband, he'll say, every day is different. And I'm like, every day? Every single day is different? Oh my God. It's just a lot. And so if you're in this season, when you're in this season, here's what I want to tell you. Again, you're not alone. And if you think that you have fucked up your entire life and you are never going to get back to where you're supposed to be, I want you to find a relief that you are not that powerful. You are not more powerful than the universe or God or your highest, greatest good. You're not. And it will turn around. But instead of fighting it, what we need to do in this season is be in the stillness. We need to listen. We need to be able to observe. And don't look at realigning. I had to get that out of my vocabulary. I'm not realigning with who I used to be. I'm going to align with who I'm going to be. I've got a meter. My future self, current self, highest self, they already exist. And it's not fucking back there. It's not back there. It's this way. It's forward. And giving yourself a chance to align. That frequency is already there. You just got to get into it. Make the move. Turtle. And again, you were allowed to start over anything. Your job. Do you want to find a new love, new home, new life? You can do it. One of the other things is that when you're in this season, stop trying to figure it out. Because it's like you're going to be trying to plan like a mad scientist, and it just doesn't work that way. Just take a deep breath. One of the things I heard recently was if you were to take depressed and just kind of make it longer, it's deep rest. Giving yourself a chance to rest and recover so that you know how to make your next right move. And also allowing that to come to fruition. Because so many times, myself included, I'm like, this is how I want it. Yeah, I'm totally in the flow. as long as it goes exactly my way in the order that I'd like and the timeline I'd like. Well, yeah, everyone can be in the flow then. Shocking. Not. Understand that at the end of the day, at the beginning of the day, at every goddamn time in the day, you are an intuitive being. You are intuitive AF. And if you can't hear anything in this season, it's because you're too busy talking. You're too busy talking through who you feel like you need to be or justifying why you haven't done the things to align with the person you need to be. You can't hear anything if you won't stop talking to yourself, to others, on the internet. Just be at peace and watch who you're becoming. Allow yourself to become someone you've never been. But to become someone you've never been, you have to do that without expectations, without deadlines, and without the molds of the versions of you that you used to be. You have to trust that when your next right move is in front of you, you will know. But if you're too busy trying to claw your way out, you're going to miss it. You're going to miss it. And I tell you that from experience. When I was going through my whole network marketing heart conundrum, my mind was racing with some really cool things that I'm working on bringing into fruition right now. But I wouldn't allow myself to say, Anna, what's your next right move? Because I thought what I was doing was what I was supposed to be doing forever. And then I wouldn't let myself be anything other than that version of myself. And that season passed. And sometimes you don't get it back. Sometimes you do. Sometimes you become someone that is even better than anything that you had ever dreamed. Find your small wins for the day. Because for me, if I got too much on my plate, I feel like I freaking tanked it every day, which should have been my first sign, my first red flag to take things off my plate. We deserve to feel happy, healthy, whole at the end of the day and to feel accomplished. And if you're constantly feeling like you're dragging, you either have too much on your plate or you're doing something that's not in your alignment. And I will say that again because it's shitty to hear, especially when you really love it. If you are feeling every day, you either got to take something off your plate or what you're doing is not in your alignment. And that's okay. Do not sit there for years trying to be who you used to be. Take this season to say, what is my next right move? Who can I become without expectations, without deadlines, without this version of myself that I felt like I needed to be? And sometimes the best learning that we're going to do in this season is we're going to unlearn everything that we felt like was important or true to ourselves. So ask yourself, who do I want to be? Because you don't have to be anything you don't want to be. And lastly, if you have to force it, that's not for you. It's easy in like relationships to see that when you have to like force it to make it work, how that's not it. But it's hard when it's with yourself. Push yourself for sure. But if you're having to force yourself or if you're having to hold on so tight to it, there's that phrase where it says sometimes you hold on so tight that it just slips right through your hands. But maybe, just maybe, falling apart is actually coming together and finding a way to be at peace with what's most important to you. Not what you want to be, what is, what's most important to you. And build your new beginning on that answer. You guys have a fantastic night. I love you. I will see you next Tuesday. Have a good night.